everyone. Thank you for being here with us today for Small Group Workstations in Actions. My name is Dana Harris, and I am your ELA Curriculum Content Trainer. I would like to take this time to introduce everyone who's here today to bring out this collaborative planning session. So I'll start with Ms. Angelica Johnson-Smith. Next, we have Ms. Kelly Lambert. This is my partner, Ms. Codia Green Gradney, ELA Curriculum Content Trainer. I have Ms. Jennifer Foster, who is a Social Studies Curriculum Content Trainer, as well as Ms. Augusta Caesar, a Social Studies Curriculum Content Trainer, and Ms. Dawn Hilton, School-Wide Interventionist at Audubon Elementary. Today, we are coming back from this is our second collaborative planning opportunity around K-2 small group instruction. Before we start, I want to jump into our meeting norms. For us to be fully present, we want to limit our sidebar, use technology appropriately, disagree with ideas and not people, come prepared, we're going to start and end on time. And there's one that's missing, and it's always to have fun. So today, what we wanted to do is to bring an opportunity for our K-2 teachers to do a make and take session. So our original goal was we were going to get together and allow teachers to come in and actually create workstations that would help support their students. So it did not go exactly how we planned because different things. It's the end of the semester, and so we decided to film it so our teachers can view it, but they're still getting a chance to learn what we have talked about and how they can put it into their classroom. Yeah. Do anybody have any comments or, about what we talked about last time? And
well, we did talk about integrating workstations in the classroom successfully. Always starts off with good procedures and protocols within the classroom. So in order to build those routines, you have to start off with good routines and procedures for your students, as well as those high expectations for your students.
I'm interested in seeing the technology integrated into the workstations just because we are a district that is one-to-one. So being that we have that, capacity, it's great to see how we can actually utilize those technologies in a meaningful way.
so what we're going to do at this present time is we want to make sure that our teachers, our K-2 teachers, are familiar with EL workstations. So we're going to break out into our own small group workstations and support our teachers in how they will be able to utilize this activities within their classroom. So we're going to have our Word workstation, we're going to do Fluency, writing, air, and then we have a special component of how you can incorporate technology within all of the workstations. So if that's okay, we're going to go ahead and move into our areas so that you have an opportunity to explain to teachers. And we'll just give each other a little bit of feedback and support in making sure that we can get this done and incorporate it to our teachers.
All right, so I'm here to talk about one of the EL workstations that you need to make sure you incorporate during your small group rotation time, and that is word work. And word work is important because we want our students to be able to explore the different spelling patterns, ways to manipulate words, and be able to build those words. So as they continue through the curriculum, they're able to decode and encode more complex spelling patterns, and it's the repeated exposure that's going to really lead them towards mastery of these spelling patterns. And so based off the EL curriculum, they suggest 3 different kinds of activities for word work. They can work different sorts, breaking apart words, creating new words, manipulating the phonemes within the words, and then just simply building out words. So I created 2 different options for our word work. The first is if each child in your class had a notebook, every child gets the same choice board that they're going to be using, and that way as they're working through, this is their accountability piece. You can go back through and see. And the way we differentiate it is within each color folder is the word list, and you can find these online through Clever. And so when the child comes, they'll just grab their color and begin working in their choice board. And I put right in front, this is based off a second grade scenario and where each child is according to the assessment conversion chart. So we have 4 different groups. And so there's 4 different word lists. So that's one option. And then a second option would be as they go, the same thing, they're still grouped by their phase according to EL, but they don't have a notebook. They just have the folder, and inside is an activity that they'll do, and they'll leave in the folder. Same thing with a differentiated word list. Now, since each station is, between 10 and 15 minutes, you want to make sure you have an early finisher box. This is where you can incorporate some of the FRCC activities, building words. There's different ones where you could sort. So I've incorporated some things like that. I always include letter tiles so they can build words off their correct word list, soundboards, dry erase boards, they can write the words. So just a variety of activities to keep them busy and keep them working with that list of words. Because as I said, the repeated exposure is what's going to help lead them towards mastery.
I appreciate the tactile aspect of it because you do have students who may not, I won't say may not, but may have difficulty with grasping a pencil or just the process of writing. So I appreciate that they have a different option versus just always writing pencil and paper. They have the letter tiles to manipulate, so I can appreciate that for students who need a little bit of support or differentiation.
I would like to add on to that, even if you have the folders grouped like this, it doesn't always have to be writing. In the directions, you could have them cut out and paste the words. So it's really how it looks within your classroom, what your students need. Maybe your lower students may work better with hands-on cutting and pasting, where your higher students will just write.
I like that the notebook provides the students with choices because it allows them to lead their learning. And giving them those choices, it gives them ownership of what they want to do. And it's not like a forced thing for them to do, so I do like that as well.
You get started in your workstations, but since it's the same thing, you can leave it the same thing each week. So you're really practicing those rules and procedures and making sure they understand what to do before you start changing all the choices that they have. And as they master the procedures, what they're supposed to do, you can add more choices or switch it up to give them more options to do.
They have accountability piece, and then they can, like you said, they can keep going back and review back over some of the phonemes that they worked on so they can build fluency to be able to come fluent readers. My center is Fluency, and Fluency is defined as the ability to read with speed, accuracy, and proper expression. And to piggyback off of Mr. Lambert, word work is very important when we come to the Fluency Center because the kids will be able to, once they learn the different phonemes and can identify, have more practice with it, when they come to an unfamiliar word, they are able to decode and to continue to gain fluency to get the long-term goal of comprehending what they read. So at my center, I took the different microphases in EL based on the beginning of the year, and you also do it mid-year and at the end of the year, microphases. So I have pre-alphabetic, partial alphabetic workstation, full alphabetic, and consolidated alphabetic workstation. And in each station, I went based on the assessment conversion chart, the different phonemes that you would see in to gain fluency, to put different things in the Fluency Center. Like the pre-alphabetic, you would work on letter naming, and this is like a chart where you would use different, for each month, you would get a new chart. You would have a 1-minute timer. You could either use a digital timer or you could actually use a sand, or this one here is a liquid gel timer. The kids will come in the center, flip it over, have a chart, and each month they would get a different chart. Also, this is another one from the Florida Center for Reading. Same thing, you give them the timer, they can have a partner. One person can read while the other partner correct, because in our centers, it's not based on what your ability is based on. It's different ability grouping in there, so they can partner up and they can monitor or check while the other children is reading from this phase. Also, you can put letter cards in there to work on the pre-alphabetic phase. Partial alphabetic, that's when we're moving into our short vowel sounds, like starting to do word families. We can have fluency reads where it will build on he jumped into the bed, he jumped into the bed and pulled, he jumped into the bed and pulled the cover. So they're building, each time they're adding more words. Okay, each time they're adding more words based on their microphase. Then we can start also, like how this is on a ring, it's written down like in a story where they have the timer, and on the side you will see the numbers, because fluency, it doesn't measure comprehension. We're just trying to see how many words they can read within a certain amount of time. So here, if they get to line 5, they've read 22 words. So we put these here. Once they've learned their phonemes, then we give them passages based on it to see if they're able to read what they've learned. You could do a roll and read based on the different phonemes where they will roll a die. If it's a 1, they read those words. If it's a 6, they have a list of words that they will read based on their microphase. In full alphabet, we become with more words that they will read, where you can still do the same activity they did, but now it's more complex based on that microphase, the different phonemes that they will work with on this one also. They can also have fluency passages that they will read, set the timer, and then always, like you do, we need to make sure they have an accountability piece. For their first try, they would count how many passages they read. For the second try, they will also write how many passages. So these centers can stay the same. The kids would normally just move based on your psycho assessment and your mid-year and end-of-year assessment to a different microphase. And our last one is consolidated, and this is where you have more longer and complex passages that they will read.
I really like the month where they have to use your first one, your letter name sounds, your letter names. And I think that's good because each month they'll get a chance to practice, but it's also an opportunity for them to go back every month and then build. And I know they probably take a lot of time with that timer, so that's one of the reasons why it's important to have those rules and procedures in place so that your kids are not playing with them. They know exactly when to start and get to business.
And they can keep seeing each time they do it where they have grown.
Yeah, I think that's good too for having your timer and doing it in a different color, because every time they stop, they can see the progress from where they started to the next time they had to stop within that minute.
And we hope, and our goal is from the beginning of the year module assessment to the beginning of the year benchmark assessment to the middle of the year benchmark assessment, we have moved to another microphase. We're not in the same one.
And I was also able to make some connections specifically to the partial alphabetic workstation when they were looking at fluency and how the sentences expanded, because that's something that we worked on in second grade. Is just sentence expansion, adding more detail to your writing. So I think that fluency activity was a great example of that, because it started off as the bug is big, there is a bug, and then it went to the bug is big and red. Our fluency station was also a part of our homework. So those activities that we had in that fluency station also went home with them for them to practice at home. So you got it in class, but you also had it at home.
So my station is the writing station, and writing is a process that requires that the writer thinks carefully about the purpose of writing, plan what to say, plan how to say it, and understand what the reader needs to know. So in our writing station, we want our students to actually enjoy writing, and EL education provides an opportunity for students to do that, but you have to think about your different phases and how you're going to support your students. So one of the things that you might have to have are some sentence starters in your writing station so that your students can begin. How many have ever had the writer block before?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I get them all the time, right? So you want to make sure that you have areas set up that's inviting to the students. So like you'll have like your Sharpies, you know, different color, your pencils, your markers, so that students will be able to kind of have an opportunity to pick and allow them to be creative, because you want them to be able to express themselves. And so everything I do is after we finish, we just put them in a bag so we can just keep them all together. So one of the things I like for in the writing station is, like I said, it's kind of open in EL. But as a teacher, we know we get those students who want to write you a letter each week and say, oh, Miss Harris, I love you so much. So one of my stations is write a letter, and just a little I can write a letter. And so inside of here, I just have some letters for our students to actually start writing. And I made an example as well. I wrote a letter to myself talking about I was a great teacher, but it's the modeling part. It's still the opportunity for me to show my students how a letter's supposed to look. And so the good thing about it is all you have to do is continue to restack this. That will provide your students an opportunity to write a letter to you or to anybody. It doesn't have to be you, but you want to make sure that they're getting the opportunity to write. So then I have, let me go to this one. It's transition words. I can use transition words in my writing. So I like this one is because it's just a graphic organizer for our students, and they can actually use it. And inside of it, it starts with the beginning, middles, and different ends. So that's one of the things I like about transition words. Also, I have this, and I like the roll out a story center. So you take the dice, you roll the dice one time, and you use the character, the setting, and what they are doing in the box that they land on to write a cool story. So that was really cool. And so I took my time to say, all right, let's add them here. But what happens when you can't find a dice anymore? Then our students start, I can't find a dice. So we're gonna provide an opportunity. We'll put them inside of Ziploc bags. And you can put numbers in here, and the students can just pull the numbers, and they're still able to write a story. And I like this because you just take the journal, and you open up a journal, and you're gonna write about your story. So this one, the character is an alien, the setting is Jupiter, and they have to blowing bubbles. So, you know, they have to use their imagination and be creative into their writing. And so one of the things that I did on my folders is just like we all talked about, I put my different phases here. So each folder, instead of just saying that it is my late or early group, I just call them my red group. You already have your writing prompt where they have to write the title right here, but it gives the students the opportunity to actually draw the pictures first and then write the story. So give them a little creativity. And in my blue group, it's the same thing, just a different format. If I can get it out. Write the title, and they can take this and change it from this piece of paper to actually writing it into their journals. So I like that. But then you have your group who does not need any support with drawing a picture, and they go ahead and get started with their writing. Or they can just easily write it in their journals. So giving them that opportunity to do that. And my last station that I liked for EL is in EL, in the writing component, they give you writing prompts that you can actually do for your students. So planning it. I just took the titles, the prompts, and put them all here in which cycle. So this will be a great opportunity to actually go back and do module 1 because your students are familiar with it, module 2 now, and it has a cycle. So one of the first one says, in Fall Fest at the park, James and Pat goes on an adventure to the Fall Fest. Write about a time when you and your friends or family members went on a special adventure. So one of the things I did was I just took the decodables just in case it gives them a little chance to reread the Fall Fest, just in case they forget, read the Fall Fest again, and then they can have a conversation with their friends and have conversations about it before they start writing. So planning, if you are able to go ahead and plan this already, then it's easier for the students to just pull and go. And it's not as much work for the teachers if you already have like the whole writing prompts for them. And then they can cross off if you have one for each individual students. So these are just a few different activities that you can incorporate into the writing session.
They can also add the component of the module to what they've been working on, to also write to make a prompt for the module.
Yep, I forgot this one too. It was with the cycle words, so they could take that and say, I can use the cycle words when I'm writing, so I'm just adding in and what we've learned already, and I can put them in Ziploc bags, and I can, you know, by time as a teacher, you'll have all of these all over the place, but it's giving the students the opportunity, because every time they pull a word, they're still reading this word to say, do I want to use this in my writing? So it's giving them an opportunity to continue to use those cycle words in their writing.
I like the drawing with the writing. Sometimes with your visual students, it helps to envision what they're going to write, and then helps the writing to be easier for them. So I like that it has that component in one of the options as well.
So if I have the visual and the sentence starter, that gives me an even better chance that I'm going to produce a nice coherent writing. And the other thing I liked was the transition words. With my second graders, they were always attached to begin with. And I'm like, okay, I'm tired of to begin with. Let's try something else. So if I use this dice, I'm going to be forced to try a different
Yes.
transition phrase or word.
Yes.
So I can appreciate that.
Helping them when they go to third grade and they have to write a narrative, because if they create their own story, then they understand how to write a story.
Bridging that gap. So if you're talking about birds, you can add your words, put bird. You might say a nest or something, but you can be creative into that writing as well.
And the word wall. If you have a word wall that's in your writing station with all of those cycle words, I think that'd be a great addition to your, setup.
Yes.
So for this component of our workshop, we'll be talking about the successful integration of technology in your classroom. So what is tech integration? Technology as a tool can accommodate various learning styles and individualities while increasing student engagement. We all have one-to-one devices within our classroom, so our students are well prepared for this increased student engagement. The best thing about integrating technology is it increases access for all students. You can never run out of supplies. It's always there, and you don't need copies of paper. And you can also bridge the home and school connection. So what I have here today are several examples of ways that you can integrate technology using the things that we've seen here today. We saw some various components from reading response sheets to letter name and fluency activities, and to AIR, accountable independent reading. These will all be used in technology. One thing you will notice is I have a minimal amount of paper. Everything here is at the touch of my fingers and can be changed immediately. One thing I like about technology is that the feedback that's provided to your students and to the teacher so that you can see is immediate. So that's your accountability piece in itself. So the first thing I have with me today is a book. We know that books are pretty expensive for teachers to buy. We just had that conversation about our classroom libraries, but would you like to have free classroom books? Free classroom books that read aloud to your students, free classroom books that engage your students, and free classroom books that you can make for yourself. So this is a QR book. I made this QR books in probably about 2 minutes. It took me a minute to find the image, a minute to go to Google Slides, and a minute to get the QR code, and it's very simple and easy. And I'll provide a tutorial for you on how to make these QR codes. When we are making these QR codes, I like to put these types of books or these digital books into my students' libraries. This is a perfect listening center. You can also use these for level libraries. The students also would like to hear you read aloud. You can put these in your Google Drive as well. When using these, the students would take their one-to-one device, which is normally in our pre-K and K is a tablet, our upper grades is their Chromebook, and they can scan the QR code with their device. Once they scan the QR code with their device, the story that corresponds with the book appears, and they're able to listen to the story and to respond. I'm going to stop it. So once the students are finished reading or listening to the stories, they can complete a reading response sheet, because yes, paper is still there, but we also integrated our technology successfully. So we have 2 different levels of reading response sheet. The students are basically talking about what book was read, the author of the book, the title of the book or the illustrator, and how they felt about the book, and drawing their favorite part in of the book. The other one goes in a little bit more deeper and can be used for enrichment with your students. they want them to write about what was your favorite part of the book. If you notice, they're essentially the same. So you can have a heterogeneous group, put those students in the group and have those colors or group members pick the ones that are most appropriate for their learning style. And again, that only took a few minutes. Once they're done, they close it out and the next student can come in. They can use their own device, or you can pair up 4 devices or 5 devices, however many children you have in your group in that section. I'll also put in one tip for you. If you notice, when I scanned the QR code, it jumped right into the story. And the reason why is there is a hack that you can use for YouTube. If you put a dash between the T and the U, it skips all of the commercials and all of the ads, and it takes you right to the story, and the story will repeat over and over again until they stop it. That is a pointer.
A dash between the what and what?
T and U. So those are our QR stories, and you can make a lot of these. You can also use this in the morning time if you wanted to do like a workstation in the morning, or having your students to come in to transition from breakfast. Maybe have them listen to a story. This can be the story of the day. You can post it on the board. They can scan it with their tablet, and they're already instantly engaged. All right, the next one we have is word work. When I taught kindergarten, my students love word work. Instead of, back in the day, we used to put the words on the board. Now we can put them up with the QR codes. And again, I'll have a tutorial and showing you how to make these QR codes to correspond with the words. So this one is probably in the first grade going into second grade, long U words, writing with the magic E. These cards provide them with an image and a picture, and they have to fill in the blank. Of course, they are numbered, but the goal is to find the card. So you'll display them in an array around the room. You can also take the same sheet and accommodate it for those students who are not yet ready for those fill in the blank, and it provides them with support with a different QR code, same picture. You can color code these so that they know which ones they are to scan. And the same way we scanned our QR code with our tablet is the same way we would scan it with this. This goes directly into a picture. They can read the picture, they can identify the picture, read the sentence, and then they can choose the correct word that fills in the blank. This is also your accountability piece for the scanning. This saves you time from writing out the words and pasting the words all around because it's already on a QR code. It's also a germ fighter. Next, we have Nearpod. We are a Nearpod district, and I just happen to be the Nearpod admin. Nearpod is an excellent tool in our district. It is provided to all teachers in East Baton Rouge Parish. You can take the lessons that are already created and edit those into how you see fit for your students. In addition, you can provide your students with different codes so that they can use those codes based upon their learning style. So this one is a Nearpod lesson about the letter M. Right here it says there's a join code. The join code is here. All of our students have access to Clever. The students will go to Clever. Once they get to Clever, there's a Nearpod icon. They'll click on the Nearpod icon, and then they'll ask them, what is your join code? Well, again, in those instructional practices and building those routines, you will show them. Of course, we'll do this with them first a couple of times, and they'll get used to it. They'll put in this code, and this lesson will pop up. They'll be able to complete this lesson based on the timeline that you gave them. Some students, you may feel that they may need 2 days to complete this lesson. Other students may be able to complete it in a day. One thing that I love about Nearpod is that you can, if you notice, there is no accountability piece here. There is no paper. That's because the data comes to you immediately in real time. So once your students are finished, or even if they're working, or even if the work is in progress, you can go onto Nearpod as a teacher and you can watch their screen in real time to see how they're completing the lesson, or even if they're getting stuck. So that's one thing that I like. It also provides the teachers with data reports that can be used at any time, and it can measure various skills at one time. The last thing we have here is AIR, and we call this one Read and Record. AIR is Accountable Independent Reading, and what I like to do is use different or leveled sheets or leveled readers so that our students can read based on their reading level. So what they would do and how we would incorporate technology with this is we would use Flip. Flip is also known as Flipgrid, or was known as Flipgrid, and now it's called Flip. Flip is basically like the TikTok of technology. Students can record themselves reading, they can record themselves writing, and send those messages to each other. What we can do with Flip and AIR is we can have the students read the passages out loud and record themselves while they're reading and post it into their reading groups. That reading group can be shared with all of their classmates, and their classmates can go back and listen and critique their reading on how they thought their classmates read. At the end of the lesson, there is a part where you can actually have this sheet as a part of the second point of accountability, because the first point will be a video. The students will go in and they will answer the questions below. All of these stories are the same, except each one is leveled for the specific reader. Another thing is we can take this, because this was initially a PDF. We can take that PDF, we can copy it, we can snip it, and we can place it in Nearpod and do the exact same thing. So those are some of the ways that we can use technology in our classroom.
Feel like the TikTok part and things like that, so it gives them an opportunity to actually practice reading, but I like the fact that their other students can go and critique them, which gives them an opportunity to hear their students read as they are reading along with them as well.
Right, and with Flip, you can also set a timer, so you can practice the fluency with it. You can increase it, I think it goes 30 minutes all the way to 10 minutes. So you can increase and decrease, and it allows the teacher to model. They can play it before as an example, and then they can go in and they can record responses. They can also add music if they want to.
A lot of students are just so loving of technology that if they scan that, they're more open to reading the book if they look at that.
And just
So I
think
like
about
that
it.
instead of a physical book.
Right, especially in the lower grades. Once the children fall in love with one particular book, they want to read that book over and over again. But if you only have one copy, everyone can't read the book. But if everyone can just scan one time, they can all read the book or listen to the book.
You're getting them ready with technology because they're going to need that for third grade leap.
You're finding books that are already, this is my personal one.
YouTube, girl.
Already on YouTube? Oh, okay. I was wondering if that was something else that you've sat and recorded and opened this book and this now.
Now,
It's
we
like,
do
oh,
have
goodness.
some that I did in there when we did the QR lesson.
Yeah.
It's me reading a story out loud.
Yeah.
And me tracking the word, but they had to record me doing it. But we put it on YouTube, but I use the same link.
But sometimes, yeah, so sometimes you can find them on YouTube or you make them yourself. Okay,
the
I
picture.
can follow you. I was just wondering.
Don't forget to send us them opportunities to show the people how to do that.
Oh, yeah, I have
Oh,
a whole
yeah.
PD on it.
Yeah.
To create your digital books, you will need three things: a Google image, a YouTube, and an untitled Google Slides. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to search for the image of the book that you are giving to your students to read. The book that I'm searching for is The Snowy Day by Ezra Jack Keats. You're going to right click and copy that image, and then you're going to paste it into your Google Slide. You can make it as large or as small as you would like. Where it says click to add title, you're going to put the title of the book. Then we're going to go to YouTube and we're going to search the book title. We specifically want to search for the read aloud. Once we find the title that we're looking for and the appropriate book, we're going to select it. We want to avoid showing the commercials to our students. So what we'll do is we'll put a small dash in between the T and the U in the URL. I'm going to reopen this link and it should be commercial free. Once we have that done, in the top box at the URL, there is a swing out arrow. We're going to click on that one. If you hover over it, it says share this page, but if we click on it, it gives us multiple options. We're going to click on the one that says create QR code. Once we click on create QR code, this image will appear as well as a download button. We're going to click on download and that will download our QR image. I'm going to open it. And then it will give us the option of saving it or right clicking it to save it as a picture. We're going to copy it. And then we're going to go to our untitled presentation in our Google slide. And we're going to paste that QR code there. Again, we can make it as small or as large as we would like. And now we have our digital book.
Thank you, ladies, for coming out to share your small group workstations with us all. For EBR teachers, you'll be able to find access to these workstations on our ELA lesson plans as well as our ELA website. Teachers, we look forward to seeing these small group workstations in performance in your classrooms. Thank you for being with us.